With that said, that means we are going into the 13th pick of the draft, which means we're operating under the assumption that Aaron Rodgers will eventually be a New York Jet, which means that the quarterbacks are not an option for me. So I'll just be quick and simple with this. With the 13th pick in the 2023 NFL Wally LOD mock draft, whatever you want to call it, the New York Jets are taking Nolan Smith, the combine hero out of Georgia, a guy that scored ridiculous numbers. I think he ran a 4.39 40. His broad jump was ridiculous. A guy that if the draft happened in March, he'd probably be a top 10 pick. But now it feels possibly a little reachy at 13, but I had to do it.
I don't hate the pick at all. I think it's a great pick. My only question is Smith and Jigba is still on the board. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who bitches about weapons constantly and then tells everyone he only wants the worst receivers he's ever played with to come with him everywhere. I guess my question is, why not in a potentially elite X threat, elite route runner out of Ohio State?
Well, first of all, this is, again, we keep doing this preamble beforehand, but I don't think that their goal here is defense. I don't think their goal would be receiver. I think their goal is offensive tackle. We just saw a crazy run lead up to this point. If you put a gun to my head and said, who's the Jets pick in real life, I think Broderick Jones is the guy they're really eyeballing here. But if you ask about the receiver room, it's crazy to think, but it's kind of loaded already, where you have a lot of big names. You have Garrett Wilson. They brought in Alan Lazard for him. Mecole Hardman's there is a good slot. You still have Denzel Mims, who you kind of hope will eventually turn into something, and Corey Davis. So I think for me, it would have been more of a, we'll take a receiver late day 2, early day 3, and we'll go from there, try to build in the trenches on both sides of the ball in the meantime for a team that really doesn't have that many needs.
Well, my follow-up to that is, do you think that they'll have to give up one of those receivers like Corey Davis to the Packers if we're getting Aaron Rodgers in return? I mean, they're going to give up picks for Rodgers, but do you think they have to throw in a player like Corey Davis in there? And then the other question is you watched what Garrett Wilson and Smith and Jigba did together. That seems really enticing as a wide receiver core with Aaron Rodgers, even though I deeply despise Aaron Rodgers with a passion and root for his downfall.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you didn't like Aaron.
Yeah, it's
that's
not obvious at all.
Well, here's the thing for me. I think that if it is Corey Davis that you have to give up with a pick, I think Jet fans are secretly high-fiving. I think the worry is, what if we have to give up Mecole Hardman or, God forbid, Garrett Wilson instead of a pick? That's when you worry about drafting a receiver. But for me, I think that the room's still good enough, especially you're getting Breece Hall back. You're going to get Mekhi Becton back. The line in the offense looks pretty good. So I think that, for me, it's a luxury pick if you go wide receiver. And I think they'll wait off on that.
Well, I love that you said that you're going to get Mekhi Becton back. Elijah Vera Tucker also is coming off an injury. With this pick, did offensive line ever come across your mind if a Skoronski, Wright, or Jones ends up kind of falling here a little bit? Or maybe reaching on an Osiris here at that position just because of the injury history of that offensive line. To your point, I think you guys did enough on the skill side, on the skill set side of the ball. But what about the trenches?
So that's interesting to bring up Osiris. I think the reason that wouldn't be an option is because they did sign Laken Tomlinson this year from San Francisco, and I think they're kind of really willing to run with him. And before you came back, you were on a run, or we had what I believe is that the offensive tackle is the goal for this team. It's just they're in a weird spot. If a run like this draft happens, I don't think they want to take Anton Johnson here or DeJuan Jones. I think, if anything, you'd trade down or try to trade back into the first for that. It's just, to me, a really weird spot if the draft falls this way for the Jets.